right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So I'm live and direct from Nigeria today. Just got back from a field trip in to Ouida, Dahomey. It's fantastic. And the experience provided me with lots of wonderful insights, as is typical. But the lesson that I want to share is, it's about being prepared for your blessings and understanding how your blessings come. Right? It's and let me just tell you, some of the way I'm understanding this, so that you can appreciate the difference between just getting information and getting a lesson. They're not the same thing. See, I could just tell you that, 1 + 1 is 2. If I wanted to give you something, I could just give you that thing directly. But when it's important that when the lesson is as important as the information, or the lesson is as important as the material gain, it's essential that you have an experience that cultivates a value, as opposed to just getting the information or getting the outcome. I hope that makes sense, right? Sometimes you just need $100, but other times you need to get a lesson. It's not about the $100. It's really about understanding the lesson. So commonly, you probably have heard Kevin Hart tell this story about when he first got out on his own. He moved into his own apartment, and his mother gave him a Bible and said, son, read your Bible every day. He said, okay, yeah, mom, of course. So he goes out, and I don't know, at some point in his sojourn as a young bachelor, he came up short on rent, and so he went back home, and he doesn't want to tell his mother he doesn't have rent, but he's talking to her, and eventually it comes up, and he either implies or just outright says, I don't have rent. And his mother says something to the effect that, okay, you need to read your Bible. He says, okay, and he leaves. But he hasn't paid the rent. Next month comes around, he repeats the same thing. Next month comes around, he repeats the same thing. So he's like 3 months behind in his rent. Finally, his mother says to him, did you read your Bible? And he says yes at the moment, but he hadn't been reading his Bible. He goes home, he opens up the Bible, and what is there? In the pages of the Bible are all the rent checks for a whole year, right? So there was a lesson that she was imparting to him. She could have just given him a stack of checks. Right? So you need to entertain right now. What's the difference? Why would your mother go through all the trouble to set up the money? She obviously put the money away in her account, and she took the time to write the checks and to date them. Why did she put them into the Bible and tell him to read the Bible, as opposed to just giving him a stack of checks? Why? What's the value of that? What is he going to learn from that experience? Right? Did she know that he was going to fail to read his Bible 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? Right? Was that part of the lesson? I know my son, and I need to teach him this lesson. We have to, guess. But you can imagine why someone like your mother would send you out with a lesson like that. Right? Ifa has that tells the exact same story, right, in an entirely different context. The pumpkin farmer goes to consult Ifa. Ifa tells him to sacrifice. He should go do something for the king. He goes and does something for the king. The king is so pleased. The king gives him a pumpkin, what appears to be an ordinary pumpkin, but this guy's a pumpkin farmer. Why do I need a pumpkin? So he doesn't even take the pumpkin home. Halfway on the way, he just throws it out of the back of his wagon and just leaves it on the side of the road, right? He goes home. A couple of months later, he goes back to see the king, And the king is looking at him, and this guy is still looking raggedy and dirty like a farmer. And the king says, well, what'd you do with the pumpkin I gave to you? He says, oh, I ate it. You ate it? I ate it. And the king is looking, he says, maybe this guy is just modest. He's gotten all, everything out of this pumpkin, but he just wants to keep his life, he's being conservative. So the king queries him a little bit more, and after a minute or two, he realizes, no. So he tells him, you did not eat the pumpkin that I gave you. You didn't open the pumpkin that I gave you. And the farmer is saying, oh no, I didn't, I felt like, I'm a pumpkin farmer, I didn't eat that pumpkin. So the king says, well, what did you do with it? He says, I just dropped it off on the side of the road. So then he goes back along the route that he had taken before. Lo and behold, where there used to be a raggedy shack where he left the pumpkin is now a palatial mansion, right? Why? Because the king had used his power to infuse this pumpkin with all manner of riches. So this is a pumpkin that was magical. When you open it up, all kinds of precious gems came out of it. So the person who found the pumpkin and opened it up became exceedingly wealthy, whereas the farmer who took it as an ordinary pumpkin continued on his life as it was. That's a lesson. The king could have just given the farmer millions of dollars. He could have just given the farmer a pile of jewels. But he deliberately went through the trouble of infusing this pumpkin with wealth beyond compare and giving it to the farmer. Why would he do that? That's the lesson, right? And that's the lesson that I want to impart to you today. Sometimes it's not about just giving you the money. Sometimes it's not about just telling you the information. Sometimes you need to have the experience that will cultivate the value. What's the value? What's the value? The value is discernment. Everything isn't what it appears to be. Everything isn't what you think it is. One pumpkin may look exactly like another pumpkin, but it's entirely different. And the only way for you to know is for you to follow directions and treat every pumpkin like it's precious. You need to show up and be consistent and do your due diligence, no matter how simple it may seem. Right? So this is a lesson that will carry on all the way. I used to do presentations. Right? Sometimes I do a presentation, there'd be 5 people in the room. Other times I do the presentation, there's 105 people in the room. I need to make the presentation for the 5 people just like I make the presentation for 105. Because it's one of those people, or all 5 of those people can be the magic pumpkin. Right? And so a lesson is intended to cultivate within you a level of awareness and appreciation of things that may beyond, or not even may be beyond, that are by definition beyond your level of understanding. That's what a lesson is about. See, if you get the knowledge, it may not raise your level of understanding. It just allows you to give the answer. It just allows you to solve the problem. But the lesson is what's going to raise your awareness. So when somebody wants to give you a real blessing, they're going to package it up in a lesson. And the lesson is intended to challenge you as opposed to just hand feed you the answer or the desired outcome. So, in order for you to be prepared for your blessing, you need to be open and receptive to the lesson that it may come packaged in. Otherwise, you'll be like the farmer, and you could be tossing out your blessings over and over and over and over and over again because you refuse to learn the lesson. So this is a message, as always, intended for the leaders. I'm looking for people who are ready and determined to use all of their faculties to help improve life for themselves and the people who they are destined to serve. If that sounds like you, then find out how Obafemi Orikunwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your life and your practice to the next level. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start helping you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. O double.